So what we're going to do is we're going to run through the answers to each one of the practice test questions. And as we go through this, I want you to keep track of, what you're doing really well, what you're struggling with, because afterwards I'm going to have you write a little reflection on that. Okay, so number one, the correct answer turned out to be B, as in 1 milliliter. I don't know if these are scrambled, so in any case, make sure that you had 1 milliliter. So let's get to why that would be. Now, I think this first problem was probably the hardest one in the set, and the reason is because you've got to spend a little time imagining what's going on here. So I've drawn two graduated cylinders here that look like they have, about 5.6 milliliters in it. We can agree on that. Maybe you might think I'm off a little bit, but clearly that's 5.5. There's 5.6, so somewhere close to 5.6. But you can see that this one over here is much more precise because it has all these little graduations on it. Now imagine what would happen if you were reading this graduated cylinder. If it looked like this and it really didn't have any of those little tick marks, right? You would be looking at this and you're going, oh, I think it's between 5 and 6. So you might be tempted to say 5 point, and then you're going to have to guess this one. And if 5.5's right there, you might say a little bit above that. 5.6, but you notice that you're already guessing in this place. You're sure it's in this place that it's between 5 and 6 milliliters, but we're already guessing here. In other words, based on this, somebody else might say 5.7 or somebody else might say 5.5. And remember, the rule is you must guess one digit. One digit. Not like you have a choice to do that. You got to guess one digit. Super important. I don't know what that triangle is, but so watch what happens over here. If I were over here and I said, okay, 5.5 is there, that's 5.6. And as a matter of fact, the way I drew it, I think it's just above 5.6, right? So there is a mark for 5. You see it's right there. There is a mark for 5.6. Matter of fact, it's right there. They didn't write any words on it, right? But it's right there. It's that particular mark. So you can see that this digit right here, there is a line representing 5.6. So that means we have not guessed yet. We're certain about these. Now, do I think it's above or below 5.6? Well, I think it's above 5.6. So I'm going to say 5.61 milliliters. Now, you may disagree with me. You might say it's right on the line, right? And you might say 5.60 milliliters, or you may disagree with me more and think that it's just below that line, and you may say 5.59 milliliters. But the point is, we would all be correct because we're all guessing in that last decimal place, because we must guess one digit. So the reason that the answer, if you get an answer that's 5.6, that the smallest increment or marking on the tool is 1 milliliter is because, do you see, when we only had 1 milliliter increments, we didn't have anything else in between, we had to guess that one extra digit, and we came up with 5.6 milliliters. Boom, that's what the correct graduated cylinder would look like. Over here, if we had our increments to 0.1 milliliters, right, which was what would have been the answer for A, then you see that if our increments are to 0.1 milliliters, we have to guess one digit beyond that, and we'd get a more accurate number than this student reported. So that's why B is the correct answer. This is the second question. So the answer is 6.30 milliliters. It is not 6.3, it is not 6, and it's certainly not 63. We can rule out 63 just because we know it's between 6 and 7 milliliters, right? So that's out. That's ridiculous, right? But you can see that all the rest of these come down to just how many digits are there. And so you might wonder, why not 6.300? If that had been a choice, that still would have been wrong. And it has to do with, let's go over here and look at this graduated cylinder. Remember, you must guess one digit. You have to have one digit that you are not certain about, right? So if we come over here and we say, okay, this is 6, that's 7, clearly this is 6.5, that's 6.4. Let me write that down. That's 6.4 milliliters. That's 6.3 milliliters, and I do recommend you label your graduated cylinders. This is probably 6.2, but in any case, I think it's between 6.3 and 6.4. So if I feel like it's between 6.3 and 6.4, remember that when I write down the values for these digits, that means that this graduated cylinder has no doubt at all in that place and that place, because there actually are markings to the tenths. So I'm not guessing yet. That's why this answer is wrong, is because to one place beyond the decimal, there actually are markings. There is no guessing going on here whatsoever. If I believe, and I do believe, it's just, remember we're reading the bottom of the meniscus, I believe the bottom of that meniscus is just a hint above 6.3. So I want to say 6.31 milliliters. You may think it's even a little bit higher and you think it's 6.32 milliliters, and we would both be right. Now you may be like, nope, I think it's right on the money, so I'm going to say 6.30 milliliters. But remember, we all have to have 3 digits because there are lines for the first 2 digits, right? These we're not guessing, so that means we need to go 1 decimal place beyond it, and the answer turns out to be 6.30. Let's look at problem 3. So we want to know which of the following is the correct measurements. And a lot of times I find in these, just read the graduated cylinder all on your own, but make sure you start that process by labeling what the digits or what the little tick marks represent, right? So you can see 20, 25, 30. I think these are going up by ones, but we're going to check. If that's true, this is 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Yep, it's definitely going up by ones. So I'm going to label this one right here is 21. That one right there is 22. So you can see that the first 2 digits we're not guessing on. And you know we have to guess 1 digit. Got to guess 1 digit. So anything that just has 2 digits is out. So boop, 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 boop. We got rid of a couple right there. And let's look and see. If I think it's between 21 and 22, I'm going to say it's exactly in between. I think it's 21.5 milliliters. You may not agree with that. You may think it's slightly below that, and you're going to say 21.4 milliliters. Either way, we're all perfectly correct, but you can see you have to have 3 digits because the lines represent 2 digits. And so 3 digits, B is the correct answer. Why is this one wrong? Because they went to 4 digits. And you remember, the lines represent the first 2 digits. We guess 1, we can't go beyond that. All right, and let's look at our last one. So last one is this ruler one, and we're going to do the same strategy we did before, which is we're going to come in here and try to mark on the lines to make sure we know what they are. I think if this is 3 and that's 4, the one in the middle clearly has to be 3.5. Just making sure I'm oriented right. And that means that this one is 3.1. This one is 3.2. That one right there is 3.3. And so you can see that this ruler has 2 certain digits. In other words, those first 2 spots are sure. So that means that we need to guess 1 digit beyond the first 2 spaces. So that means that this is out right there, right? That's out because that has 2 digits, and the ruler goes to 2 digits. Each marking represents 2 digits, right? This is not enough, so I think that's going to be our answer. Let's see. I think it's a little bit beyond 3.2. So I'm going to say 3.2, it's not much beyond, I'm going to say 3.21 milliliters. Now, you may think it's even further than that. You may say 3.22 milliliters, that's fine. You may say it's directly on the line, that would be 3.20 milliliters. Because there is a line for 3.2, that means this digit and that digit are certain, and we need to guess 1, and it's okay if we disagree a little bit on that last one. So C turns out to be the correct answer here on this last one. Now, I'm going to give you a couple more problems that I want you to do in the next assignment that will have you practice this a little bit more as well.